So third time is the charm. I believe it. Spring has sprung. Tips for cleaning up your finances. This is the third time we're recording it because the first time we recorded it, Donald had a power outage at his house, and our entire recording of this and the next episode was lost. And then we got together today to re-record episodes 6 and 7, and we got done with recording this episode, and he went to pull it up on his computer and did not have any audio for a technical glitch type
Yep.
situation. So, this is a great time to share with our listeners that we have a metaphor that we can kind of relate this situation to when it comes to your finances. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, like we are living episode to episode when we record and release these episodes, then you are really not setting yourself up for success or going to be able to push your boundaries, push your limits, achieve stretch goals because you're just in it. It's paycheck to paycheck. So we have no emergency fund, right? That's the second piece of
We
this.
fell into
We
our
didn't
own
have
trap.
any, yeah, we didn't have any episodes in the can that we could just drop on that release date of April 10th of when this episode should have come out. So here we are. We're doing exactly what we're teaching our clients not to do.
Yep. If you want to learn from us, learn from our example, and do as we say, not as we do, I guess, because here we are. So, uh, full disclosure, full transparency. That's what this is about, right? The show's called Off Limits, but basically the idea is nothing's off limits. So we're being totally transparent and vulnerable with you guys now. So be patient with us, and we'll get it figured out.
And ironically, we did, talk about this, and we were saying like this doesn't feel good. We really need to get ahead of it and put together a production plan and schedule, and that's what we did. We talked about it, but we just didn't quite get
I
there.
think Murphy was listening.
So
We did. We put a whole schedule together about how to get out ahead of our production schedule so that we didn't fall into this paycheck to paycheck, episode by episode rhythm that we're in. And yeah, Murphy got us. So he's
yep,
he's out there. Be ready
yep.
for him.
We're all susceptible for
That's it.
sure.
That's it.
So let's talk about clearing the clutter from our finances, or the spring cleaning concept that we have. And we're gonna leave you with today 9 different tips that you can do throughout whatever time of year it is, being that we're releasing this episode a little bit later. Maybe kind of spring has come and gone for you, but for us, where I live in the northeast, excuse me, the tulips are starting to come up now. So we really are right in the heart of spring. People are cleaning their lawns, washing their windows, cleaning out their homes, their garages. So we want you to use this time of year annually to theoretically clean out your finances. And what we're going to kick this off with is revisit or create your financial goals.
Absolutely. Goals are so important. And yeah, what better reminder than the springtime, right? Everybody's heard spring cleaning. So what does that mean? Are we just cleaning up the house and the yard and maybe getting some stuff out of the closet? Or are we going to dig into our finances, our personal finances, and take a look at those as well? Because we really need to, right? We need to have those goals. We need to be looking out there, finding ways to motivate ourselves to go forward and making sure that we're still aligned with our goals. And I think that's where we really want you to focus here with this tip is either build goals if you haven't, or make sure that you're still moving toward the goals that you have and that they're the right goals. And I think that last piece, again, it's a small thing, but it's a big thing. Making sure that you still have the right goals in place. Life happens. And so sometimes you have to adjust your goals. I don't know, Christine, if you've ever had to adjust yours. And my guess is that you probably have. I certainly have, and I haven't spoken to anybody yet that hasn't had that experience. What do you say to that?
Right. Right. I think that's something that everybody listening can relate to.
Yeah.
Even if you make a really small goal, something that, yeah, I'm going to be able to achieve this, something can and most often will happen where it becomes difficult to achieve that small goal. But when you set goals, whether they're small goals, big goals, stretch goals, right? Like you're
Yes.
really trying to achieve the impossible, well, now you're setting yourself up for success to be able to do that versus just going through life with, well, these are my dreams, these are my goals, these are my desires, but I don't really have a plan on how to make that happen. If you fail to plan, well, you can also plan to
Plan to
fail,
fail.
but you'll be much more likely to achieve what you want in life when you are striving to achieve something. So you may be sitting here thinking, well, geez, where do I even start with this? Our second tip has to do with scrolling through and looking back at the last 3 months of your purchases. You can do that by opening up an app or your computer and logging into your credit card and your debit card accounts and just, like I mentioned, scroll through where has your money been going so you can gain awareness and plan where you want it to go in the future.
Yeah, this is key. Going back and looking over the past and, 3 to 6 months, if you've got access to the information, look at the whole year. Take your spring cleaning opportunity, take the new year opportunity, whatever that cycle is for you, and look at the entire last 12, or in accounting world, we talk about the 13th month. And so the idea there is that you want to look at the past 12 months, but also this month last year. And just compare how are you performing against all of those metrics, year over year. And that information is going to give you what you need. It's going to give you the data to be able to go forward. Did you overspend or underspend in a particular category? And if you're just looking at a smaller segment of time, you can actually start doing it transaction by transaction. So when I said if you've got access to the information, if you're using a budgeting tool like Every Dollar, if your bank has a budgeting tool it's moving money into categories, it's easy to look at that 13-month period. But if you were looking at it transaction by transaction, that would be just far too overwhelming. So take a
Right, right.
smaller
And we
segment of
and we don't
time.
want to,
Yeah,
yeah, so we don't want to overwhelm you. We just want you to bring awareness into where your money is going. And
absolutely.
oftentimes people really find that food, whether it's grocery store, takeout, restaurants, that is blowing their budget, so to speak. They are spending way too much money in those areas. And then they have food waste. They're throwing out food that they bought at the grocery store because they were too tired to cook or too busy to cook. And now they're stopping and they're getting takeout or stopping at a restaurant for this unplanned expense. They have meat in their freezer with freezer burn. They have items in their pantry that have a expiration date that's maybe a year or two ago. It happens. It happens to
That's right.
all of us. What we want you to do through this exercise, though, is gain awareness. We don't want you to beat yourself up, feel like wow, how did I do that? How did I spend so much money
Yeah.
here? Just use this information so going forward, you can create a different path for yourself.
And honestly, full disclosure, you will feel that way, and it's okay, to give yourself a little bit of a reality check, and how did I let this get so out of hand? That's fine. Have the momentary thought, but yes, we're not criticizing anybody. This happens to all of us. We've got personal examples in every one of these nine tips that we're going to be talking about today, where we've fallen into our own trap. We started the show by talking about how we've fallen into this paycheck by paycheck, episode by episode mentality. So it definitely is going to happen, and it's okay to respond to that. And but the action that you take next should be an intentional action. And so that's really what we want, is for you to become more aware, more in touch with what's going on. And so looking at the shorter time window, and then really getting down into the weeds of look at all those different transactions and look for things that you either don't expect or really shouldn't be there, right? And then that's where you're going to start making your first adjustments.